Hello, I'm Charles Coves, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Coves Show, episode 123, whether you're watching on YouTube or Rumble or listening via podcast. In this week's episode, I provoke you to think about how you chose your current lawyer, your dentist, your accountant, or your electrician. On what basis did you choose them? I suggest it's most often referrals from your friends or advice from your friends or people whom you trust when you choose these providers. The word trust governs the decisions that we make when we employ people to solve our problems, engage people to solve our problems, particularly on an ongoing basis. Sometimes, of course, trust can be misplaced, and sometimes we hold on to providers of solutions to our problems, professional service providers, because we like a person, but in fact, they're really not good enough, but you've become accustomed to keeping them. Trust lies at the heart of making these decisions because we are incapable of judging the technical competencies of these people. So, the corollary of that is, how do people know what problems you solve, what services you provide, and how you solve their problems? What are the principles that govern the way you solve problems for others? Today's episode is designed to provoke you to think more deeply about what you stand for, what principles govern your services, and also to help you to make better decisions on who you engage, on how you find out who to engage. I am confident you will find this episode useful. This show is in 4 parts. Firstly, the new idea, the big idea of the week. Secondly, I share 6 resources that you can use to implement the big idea or to support your thinking about the big idea. Thirdly, a review of the past week of matters in my life, Julie's life, and the world's life sometimes. And lastly, particularly for newer viewers and listeners, the foundational principles of this show. So let's get into the big idea. Think about how you choose your professional service providers, or indeed your tradesmen who can have a big impact on your enjoyment of life, your plumbers, your electricians. But you have a lawyer, probably, a doctor, a dentist, an accountant, an electrician. How did you choose them? And then think about what you want people to think about you when they've got a problem and they need someone like you to solve their problem. Why would they choose you? Why are you the person to solve their problems? And everyone's got problems. Referrals are crucial in life. Life is so complicated, we are unable to make technical decisions on the competency and capability of many people who solve our problems. How would you decide whether your dentist is good enough? How do you decide whether your doctor is good enough? How do you decide whether a surgeon who's going to replace your knee is good enough? We do this based on trust. And we talk to people around us to get some advice. Hey, who do you recommend for A, B, or C? We buy on trust. We trust our friends, our family members to say, yes, this person is good. And that's a good thing. Of course, sometimes that trust can be misplaced because the person you're asking is not competent to give that advice, other than the fact that they might use a person that they're happy with, but you might not be happy with that. This whole issue of trust is another reason why research shows that a majority of jobs that are available in Western countries are not advertised. The Human Resources Institutes in various countries say that up to 70% of jobs are not advertised. They are filled through referrals of existing employees, of existing friends of employees, word of mouth referral. Why is that? Because it's too hard to work out who would make a good employee. It's difficult. And how often does it happen that if you're an employer, you interview somebody and they seem so fantastic, and then 3 months down the track, it's a disaster. So word of mouth about employees, potential employees, is crucial, and using networking is crucial to find who would be a great employee. And there are some industries now in Australia, particularly, where there is a massive shortage of applicants. So again, referrals become important. So use word of mouth to find solutions to your problems, and do it in a methodical way. Don't just say, oh, this person's good. You say, why is that person good? And then turn the tables and start to think about, why would people refer you? What problems do you solve, and how do you solve them? What are the principles and the rules by which you govern the provision of your problem solving, whether you are a doctor, dentist, candle maker, lawyer, accountant? What do you stand for? Just recently, one of my buddies who I've known for some years, he's a lawyer, and I was at dinner with him. In fact, I was at dinner with him on Wednesday night, and I said to him, how would I refer you? What do I say about you? Because I've known this guy for years. I know he's competent, but there are lawyers and there are lawyers. And he thought about it and he said, I'm a fixer. I'll fix any legal problem. I thought, okay, that's an interesting, I'll think of him as the fixer. There are dentists, or a dentist in particular that I'm thinking of, that what they stand for, what this dentist stands for, is if you are unhappy about what's been done for you, you do not pay. So that's a crucial principle, a crucial idea that the dentist's patients could say to other potential patients, hey, this dentist is so good, if you're not happy, you don't pay. A third example is my friend Tom, an accountant. He focuses on speed and accuracy. With this accountant, you're never guessing when and how fast the problem that you want solved will be fixed. Fourthly, an investment trust. It has clear parameters, clear principles, clear guidelines for how it behaves. It helps people make better decisions. And when you clarify these rules about yourself, how you solve them, what you solve, how people will feel when you solve their problems, this helps others to be really clear about what they say about you. It builds the referral process. It enables people to confidently refer you. I urge you to think more deeply about this, to think more deeply about the decisions that you make on who you engage, and go back and think about, why did I choose those problem solvers? So, the 6 resources to help you think more deeply about today's big idea. The song is a song I've only heard a couple of times, not very well known, but it's a good song called When the Heart Rules the Mind. And the lyrics invite you to come from your heart space, not your head space. When the heart rules the mind, one look and love is blind. When you want the dream to last, take a chance, forget the past. Seasons will change. You must move on. Follow your dream. And the reason why this is a motivational song, an upbeat song, And the reason why you follow your heart is because it helps you decide what you want to stand for. Don't come from your headspace. Come from your heart, from your soul, from your spirit, from your passion. And then that helps you decide what you stand for. My book of the week is by Ray Dalio, one of the world's most successful investors and creators of investment funds. It's called Principles. And it's a book about his life and the principles that the rules that he adopted to govern his behavior and how he would run his business, how he would treat other people. I commend it to you. My quote, and I heard this, I don't know where it came from, but I might be making it up in the context of all of the thinking that I do for this show. If you don't stand for anything, you will fall for anything. If you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for anything. So what do you stand for? My spiritual tip is to spend time on the spiritual practices that I've been talking about in these shows each week. Because when you come from your spiritual space, it squeezes out the fears. Fears come from your mind. Well, this is very important. Love comes from your heart, from your soul. And if you are too much in your head and not from your spiritual space, fear can dominate. And our world today is full of people warning you about stuff to be fearful about. My health tip today is a bit of a shitty idea. I want you to think about constipation. I've had a number of conversations over the last couple of weeks talking to people and reminding them, sharing with them what my dad taught me a long, long time ago when I went to my first naturopath in 1965, and then Dad told me more about it, particularly relevant on Father's Day, that the greatest cause of disease, the greatest cause of ill health is constipation. A vast number of people are constipated. Someone else during the week told me that the average American, goes to the toilet 3 times a week only. And one of the crucial causes of constipation is dehydration. So please start to study this issue of constipation. If you want to be healthier and your bowels aren't being well cleaned and frequently and regularly cleaned, then I urge you to do something about it. And then lastly, on the spot of humour, I've been thinking, believe it or not, I think all the time, haha, because Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. I've been thinking. We're told to follow the science. So, how would scientists respond to a dinner invitation? When you invite famous scientists to dinner, what might their responses be? Well, here they were. Ampere was worried he wasn't current. Boyle said he was under too much pressure. By the way, if you don't know anything about science, you'll have trouble with some of this humour. Darwin waited to see what evolved. Edison thought it would be illuminating. Einstein thought it would be relatively easy to attend. Gauss was asked to attend because of his magnetic personality. Hawking tried to string enough time together to make space in his schedule. Hertz said in the future he planned to attend with greater frequency. Also very relevant in relation to 5G these days. Morse's reply. Samuel Morse, he said, I'll be there on the dot. Can't stop now, mustache. Newton planned to drop in. Pierre and Marie Curie were radiating enthusiasm. Wilbur Wright accepted provided he and Orville could get a flight. And lastly, in honour of my in-laws, Watt reckoned it would be a good way to let off steam. Clever, clever, clever. Love it. Follow the science. Take these steps to use today's big idea to make a difference in your life, to make better choices about who you retain, to think about, have you retained people on good grounds? Are you just sticking with them because of patterns? I know a family who stuck to their family doctor who caused great harm, but because they liked the doctor, they kept going to him, even though he proved to be incompetent, even though he wasn't keeping up with the latest health information. This was some years ago, but it's a salutary lesson. Don't just stick to people because you like them. You can like them and invite them to dinner like all those scientists, but make wiser choices. And we're talking subtle differences here. My aim for the show is to provoke you, to inspire you, to motivate you, to educate you, to examine your life, to examine your decision making, and to continue to do so for the rest of your life. I invite you to subscribe to this YouTube, to this video, to this podcast. If you like it, share it with your family, with your friends, with your work colleagues. Discover more about the self-awareness and passion quest at charlescovess.com, and look at various corporate programs and public programs at covess.com. My books Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance are both available on those websites. Now, let's review key happenings during the week in my life, Julie's life, the life of the world. I moderated, again, 3 global meetings during the week, 6 a.m. on Mondays, 5 a.m. on Wednesdays. On Wednesday, we had over 1,000 people participating in a Zoom meeting, so that was a bit of a riot. There was some trolls and hackers tried to get in to disrupt this most important discussion with the aviation industry and the dramas that are happening on health matters. And on Monday, the presenter was a lawyer discussing many legal, useful strategies designed to preserve your freedom, dear viewer, dear listener. On Friday nights, Julie and I hosted FOAM, F-O-A-M, Fighters Opposing Autocratic Maniacs. If you want to oppose autocratic maniacs, come and join us. Send us an email and we'll send you an invitation. During the week, I also spoke at a conference on innovation. I spoke on a topic of the barriers to innovation, and then I facilitated an in-depth discussion of 5 experts, particularly around artificial intelligence. Quite an interesting topic, and one of the key ideas I shared is just because technically we can do something doesn't mean we should. Just because technology is available to do something does not mean that we should. And I also pointed out that much innovation is blocked in organizations because of the danger of speaking the truth. Think about this. If someone says to you, how do I get to Darwin? Your next question to them would be, where are you? And if they tell you they're in Sydney, good, you give them instructions. But if they're lying to you, not telling you the truth, and they're actually in Perth, your instructions are useless. So in many companies, it's very dangerous to speak the truth. So I unpacked that problem, and this is where passion comes in, that you have more courage to speak the truth when you're passionate about what you're doing and you're passionate about what the company is wanting to achieve. During the week, on Tuesday, I became a grandfather for the 3rd time. Imagine that. I've now got 3 granddaughters, no grandsons. But my son Nicholas and his partner Vanessa had a beautiful little girl, Maisie, so I'm delighted. Julie's a step-grandmother. We're delighted to welcome Maisie into the world, and Julie and I are working to make this world a better place so that young new babies like Maisie can look forward to a wonderful life. Exciting to be a grandfather, I must say. And happy Father's Day. You'll be watching this, some of you on the day, some of you later. I might explore what it means to be a good father. I have some ideas on that. That's a good question. Am I a good father? I've got 5 kids. Julie thinks I'm a good father. That's a good, interesting question. I had a meeting with a friend of mine, Russell, who is an Australian who so despairs about where Australia's going that he's decided to move to Mexico with his family. I've heard of a number of people moving to Mexico Very interesting, very interesting. Look at those decisions that people are making. Choose wisely, but there are some principles that are not being applied in this country, in many Western countries. People are going a bit crazy, so interesting challenge, hey? And then lastly, I spoke to 3 people this week who were referred to me by one of my friends and said, hey, you should speak to these people. And whenever somebody refers someone to me, I'm always willing to have a meeting with them. And I think that's the case for most of you. If people refer you, then people are willing, on the basis of trust, to speak to you. It's a great way to meet new people, to find new clients, to find people who are desperately keen to find reliable people like you to solve their problems through services, solutions, capabilities. So think about that. And at the same time, keep doing your exercise like Julie does, like I do, because you can't keep running at this pace if you aren't in good shape. And even though round is a shape, it's not the most productive shape to be in. So, if you're new to the show, stick around for the last part where I go through the foundational principles of the show, a deeper discussion around freedom, also my background. And as I'm sharing this show with you, I'm thoroughly enjoying this coffee I'm drinking. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And until our next show, may your week be full of passion, full of challenge that you are willing to embrace. You know, a life where you are not dominated by fear, but by pursuing your passion. And through that, you are increasing your self-awareness about what your life is about. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye. And now, for viewers and listeners who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles of the show, here we are. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I love, to become Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired and provoked and educated and motivated people all over the world to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people via the books that I've written, via speeches at conferences, via in-depth team building programs, workshops over 1, 2 or 3 days, or over 3 months, 6 months. And I've coached people of all ages, one-on-one, from small, medium and large enterprises, government enterprises, helping them to identify the often tiny changes that can make a massive difference. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats that government imposes on you to force you to observe its laws is the threat of imprisonment, the loss of your freedom. Just think about that. Government says if you don't behave yourself, we're going to put you in jail. No, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's a reminder to you of why freedom is so important. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. If you were locked up in a cage for the rest of your life, how different would you be to an animal? This commitment to fighting for freedoms for all people is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels. Number 1, preserving the freedom to pursue your passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be able to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom throughout the world through the expansion of industrial hemp, a magnificent agricultural crop, an almost miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. In this way, the power of government to take away freedom is minimized. Number 4, fighting for freedom through legal strategies. So I do work as a legal strategy consultant, as an interface between clients and their lawyers. And number 5, As chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy and as a board member of the Australian Cartoon Museum, fighting for the freedom of thought and speech through uncensored comedy and humour, through avoiding political correctness in the comedic space. When you block freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that's the beginning of the end of your freedoms. The foundational principles for the Charles Covess Show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness added to your passion will guarantee that you are successful. And the best definition of success I have found in life is that success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideals. The progressive realization of your worthy ideals. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle and quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I wear my red jacket for all my shows. Red is the colour of passion, so that when you see me on the YouTube version, it reminds you that when you see red in your life, you ask yourself the question, am I pursuing my passion? What am I passionate about? Am I still passionate about that? What might I newly be passionate about? Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because there's a chance you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then we get confused and we don't do anything. Clarity leads to power. Confusion kills passion. Each week I share simple and practical resources that you've heard me describe in the earlier part of the show. A spiritual tip, a health tip, lyrics of a song, a book, a quote, and of course humour. This show is not politically correct. I have no intention of being politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including my addiction to great coffee, my addiction to exercise, my addiction to reading, and my addiction to certain other unmentionable in public type behaviours. Who would know what they are? This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if you don't like discussion of spirituality, this show is not for you. I promise you that I don't include anything in this show that I don't consider to be true and that I have not found to be useful in the work that I've done over the past 28 years, but also over the past 50 years in business, as a lawyer, as a consultant advisor. I only want to share stuff with you that is of value to you. Finally, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact me at charles@covess.com. Again, thanks for watching and listening to my show. Bye.